Hey guys, it's Max with Tucker USA. Today we're going to go over the Ultimate Residential Kit, what each component is, how to set it up, how to get you cleaning windows in a short period of time. Over here to my right, I have my 3/4 inch supply hose for the rival cart. We have the rival cart itself. It's the 4-stage system. The RO and the carbon sediment filter are already installed. We're going to have to install the DI later, but we will go over that later. Inside of the cart box, when you opened it up, you'll have two 4x10 inch DI filters, your extra carbon sediment combo filter, your 2.5 inch and 4.5 inch filter wrenches, as well as a replacement 4-inch O-ring and 2.5 inch O-ring for your top and bottom housing as well. Lastly, you will find a manual and a handheld TDS meter. This is going to be an important tool for us testing our cart and making sure that we're operational. So make sure you set this aside some. Also inside your kit, you'll have the package with a 15-foot junior pole and a Tucker 30 carbon fiber pole. And various other accessories boxes you would have found 12-inch Glide pencil brush. This is our newest brush, made to mimic the natural fiber boar's hair with the Glide of nylon. We also have a standard sized or bristle brush pencil. We also have the nylon dual trim, softer nylon on the outside with firmer black bristles on the inside. We'll also receive a hybrid brush, nylon on the outside, boar's hair on the inside. You'll have received the Alpha Scrub brush. See the brush here, as well as 10 nylon scrubbing pads. We'll have received 100 feet of coil tubing, a mini scrubber, walnut mini scrubber, a locked adjustable reach around gooseneck with acne threading on the back and our new lock attachment system up front, 12-inch standard size rinse bar, swiveling gooseneck to convert one of your brushes to an alpha brush, along with the standard size rinse bar. Received a quick connect to attach from the hose reel to your pole tubing. Also received an aluminum acme tip to use traditional tools on any of your poles. We've also received a wood cone tip, also to be used with the acme tip to connect any squeegees or anything else that require a cone tip. And lastly, a 5/16 inline ball valve. You can splice this into your pole tubing wherever you'd like to create a closer on-off valve to where you are. That's it for everything that you get in the Ultimate Residential Kit, as well as the hose reel. We're going to do a rundown of all the components of the Rival Cart. First up here, you have your quality control tag, just saying that we did our work and we checked everything. Water is going to come in right here into the sediment carbon combo filter. Down here in the bottom half is your sediment filter. Water is going to travel up from here through the carbon filter, and it's going to move on to the RO filter. This is reverse osmosis. This is a 40-inch RO filter. It splits water in two in a 1-to-1 ratio. It's going to generate pretty pure water, and that's going to carry on down here to the DI filter. Water's going to fill this up and come out of here, and this is where you're going to get your pure water for window cleaning. The other water the RO produces is going to come out of the bypass line down here at the bottom, and you control that with the bypass valve. Right now it is in a closed position. Water will always come out of it, but we could turn it up and let all of the water come out of the bypass valve, producing no water out of the DI. And lastly, we have a pressure gauge here to let you know and monitor what the pressure is coming off of the house and what the system is reading. Next up, we are going to set up. Hey guys, now we're going to hook up our Rival Cart and get it ready for production. I have not installed my DI filter yet. I have with me my 4-inch filter wrench, my 3/4 inch garden hose supply line, and the DI filter is still bagged. I'm going to set the wrench and the filter aside in my pocket. I also have my handheld TDS meter. This is going to be important to make sure that we are testing and making sure that our RO filter is meeting the proper rejection before we hook up our DI filter. With my 3/4 inch supply line, I'm going to hook one end up to the tap and the other end up to the cart. Now that I have all of this hooked up, I'm going to make sure my bypass is in the open position, being parallel with the hose line and not closed, intersecting the hose line in a perpendicular way. I'm going to go ahead and turn on the tap water. You will see the carbon sediment housing filling up with water, and then you have water coming out of the bypass down here at the bottom of the cart. The water coming out may look sudsy at first. It may have bubbles and air in it. That's how we're going to run the RO and bypass for 5 to 10 minutes to make sure it's fully primed and clean before we engage it and start running it. Here you see it filling up. Now here's some air coming out. But you'll see down here the water's coming out soapy. That's just a coating on the nylon of the RO. That's going to clear out here in a couple minutes. In the meantime, I'm going to let this run. I'll come back to you guys in a little bit. Now that we've had our water running for 10 to 15 minutes out of the bypass, I'm going to pull out our handheld TDS meter. I'm going to take the cap off the bottom of it. I'm going to press the on button. It'll read 000. I'm going to take this cap, I'm going to fill it with the water coming out of the bottom of the RO. Now because we haven't engaged it yet, this is going to be tap water coming out. I'm going to get a reading to see what part per million our water is coming off of the tap. Right here it says 120. We have 120 parts per million in our tap water supply off this wall. Now, I'm going to engage the RO and put it into production for the first time. I still haven't installed my DI filter. I'm going to let the RO water fill up this canister and come out of here. It won't be 80 to 90% at first, But after the RO has been running engaged for a little while, I would expect and hope to see the 80 to 90% reduction coming out of the DI housing. That's what we're going to wait for. I'll pull one right off the tap at first, or right off the housing at first, and then we'll see it come down in real time. Also keep a notice of your pressure gauge. We're at 40 PSI here. That's a great pressure to be working with for residential houses. So right now, this RO is engaged and it's filling this housing here. It may take a little bit of time for it to come out for the first time, but it will. Here we have our first supply of RO water. Now remember, our inlet water was 120. So as the RO works, this filter is a tightly wrapped nylon tube. And it's layers and layers of nylon. In the center is a post. This post comes down here to this check valve and into the DI. Only the purest water this RO can produce makes it to the post. The rest goes out here, comes out the bottom, up the bypass, and down out onto the ground. So what you'll immediately see is the water coming out of the RO is now milky in color. That's because the water coming out of the bottom is very heavy in parts per million because it's all solids. The water coming out of here is going to be very pure. It has to be running for 5 to 10 minutes engaged. So I'm going to take my TDS meter. I'm going to measure this water now. We're at 11. That's already a 90% reduction from our original 120 off the tap. Coming out of the bottom, the bypass, which is really milky in color, we're at 250. And this will only get better over time as this RO warms up. After a while, it'll reach peak efficiency again, 80-90%. We're still at 11. That's good for me. 91% reduction is exactly what we want to see. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off the tap water. I'm going to grab my 4-inch filter wrench and a DI. I'll be right back. So now I'm back with my 4-inch filter wrench and my DI filter. I'm going to install the DI filter and empty this canister down here using this 4-inch filter wrench. You're going to slide it up underneath the housing and turn it to the right to loosen it. Once it's loose, I'm going to unthread it and dump out the contents of the water and install the DI filter and reseal the housing. To install the DI filter, you'll notice that the housing, or the filter itself, pardon me, has an arrow facing up. You want to install it with this gasket facing the top of the black housing. At the bottom is a hole, and at the bottom of this housing, there is a post. You want to fit this hole over the post, and it will seat flush with the O-ring. Once that's installed, go ahead and seal the housing back up. And tighten it with your filter wrench to seal it up. After that's done, I'm going to turn the water back on with my handheld TDS meter. I'm going to make sure that we're getting pure water out of the system. Since we emptied the housing, we're gonna have to wait a little bit longer for this to fill back up again. I have my TDS meter right here. Now I'm going to take my TDS meter, take this water coming out, and check it. Perfect zeros. So right now we have totally pure water coming out of this system. We're ready to start cleaning windows. So now I'm going to grab a pole, a brush, and a reel, and we're going to finish setting up the rest of the system and start cleaning windows. I'll be right back. I'm back. Tools I've decided to grab for this job. This is one pane right here. It's the Tucker Junior 15-foot hybrid pole. The hose reel. I went with an alpha scrubber for this. And lastly, we have the quick connect and the 100 feet of pole tubing. First thing I'm going to do to set this up is I'm going to run the pole tubing through the junior pole and connect the quick connect to it. Take your tubing, find the loose end, and grab your tube. You're going to run the pole tubing up the bottom hole and out the top of the junior. Once we have some slack out of the end of the junior, I'm going to set it down. I'm going to grab the alpha scrubber. Opening this up, you'll find the scrubber itself with the Velcro attached. I'm also going to grab one Velcro pad and apply it to the bottom here, covering the whole Velcro. After that, an adjustable knob on the gooseneck here will allow you to set the angle of your cleaning. I'm going to set it to a pretty flat level for this window right here. Then, the slack out of the top of the pole, I'm going to grab it, I'm going to run it through the center of the stem, out the tip, and plug it into the union right here, supplying the rinse bar across the top of the brush. I like to make a little loop just to give myself some extra slack to work with. After that, I'm going to loosen the number 1 clamp on the pole and loosen the red knob slightly to widen the clamp. I'm then going to slide the stem into the number 1 clamp, making sure that this ridge right here on the broad side of the neck fits in between the 2 closing sections of the clamp. Once that's done, I'm going to secure the number 1 clamp by tightening the red knob again and pulling the clamp over and locking it in place. At the other end of the pole tubing, I'm going to attach my quick connect. Right here on the quick connect, there's also a ball valve to control the flow of water going to your pole. I'm going to set both of these aside for right now and grab the hose reel and connect that. going to connect the inlet of the hose reel to the outlet of the DI filter. And then I'm going to grab my quick connect from the pull tubing and then connect it to the outlet of the hose reel. I'm then going to open up the ball valve, make sure it's in the open position. I'm going to turn water back onto the cart. Water's going to come out of the DI, through the hose reel, and out the pole, out the rinse bar. And this might take a minute to travel through the 250 feet of working hose you have. As you can see, we started to get water coming out of our rinse bar. There's still a little bit of air cleaning over, coming out of the hose, but all jets are receiving water. We can now start applying this pure water onto the glass.